What up, fellas? What up, y'all? What up, everybody? I know it has been too long. What up, man? Good to see you. Ah, it has been too long. Scent of the day is in chat. What up? What up? What up, Simone? What up, Moore? What up, Mike? What up, Bush? Scent of the day is in the chat. My scent of the day today is Chanel Platinum Egoist. Scent of the day, Ingenious Ginger. Very nice. Chanel Egoist. Wait. Oh, Bush, you're wearing original Egoist. Word. So what's your newest pickup? A lot of stuff, man. Platinum Egoist. Just in this month, we got Habi Rouge, Guerlain Homme, Platinum Egoist, Bulgari Tigar, Gamer Spades Topaz, Brioni EDP, Aqua Allegoria, Nerolia Vetiver EDT, a couple of these vintage Laliques. There's a lot of stuff. That's just that stuff. There's a lot more. Scent of the day, power drill, display cases, shells, Orville, Redneck, popcorn. Probably spelled the name wrong. Oh, Redenbacher. Gotcha. That's what's up. You wearing everything with the kitchen sink today. What up, Dusan? Oh, I saw your message. I saw your message, Mike. Yeah, I won the Tiger. You know me, I'm not buying Bulgari Tiger. I got too much Tiger in my collection, but yeah, I won this. What do you mean and Issey Miyake? That's just a brand name. That's not a fragrance. You got to actually name a fragrance. Issey Miyake can smell like anything from burnt wood to fresh citrus. Santa Maria Novella Golden Musk. Oh, nice, Dusan. Very nice. I forgot you have access to more of that stuff. Man, I've been working since 9 a.m. Wasn't even thinking about frags. I hear you. Citrus and mint. You're not really gonna find straight citrus mint, but you will find something slightly sweeter. Lorenzo, this isn't really a mint celebration, but it does have mint, and you can smell it. Obviously, original Eros Eau de Toilette is lavender, mint, and green apple. So it's a minty, fresh, slight sweet. Then you have something like Lorenzo Casaglia Arctic Sea. That is a mint. It is a mint citrus dark blue aquatic. You have Dream Sea, which also has mint from Lorenzo Pizzaglia. This is a sweet, slight creamsicle, green and blue fragrance. It's almost like smelling sunset. It's the best way I can describe it. But that is also a minty experience. If you want something more fresh, airy, crisp citrus, you're not really going to find mint. You're mostly going to find ginger when you go into citrus. They don't really mix mint and citrus. But there is a fragrance. Actually, I can't even speak on that yet because the note pyramid hasn't dropped. But yeah, mint citrus is not really a combination that goes together well. I haven't seen it a ton in the marketplace for citrus fragrances. You're mainly going to see ginger, maybe basil. Once you go mint, you're going to probably find something slightly sweet or heavily sweet. Yeah, absolutely, Cruz. I'm addicted to whatnot now, and it's not even just fragrances. Yeah, I know. So I told you guys, I warned you. I have only vintage Santa Maria Novella bottles. Oh, you mean like as opposed to their later creations? Yeah, my two Santa Maria novellas is Quercia and Ambra, which I believe are plus 2020 releases, like 2022 stuff like that. They all smell the same to me though. Even their latest formulations still have a lot of the nuts, and because I have a lot of old vintage samples of Santa Maria Novella, they all have a similar caliber to me. Just a very kind of organic mono note kind of style. Najda Intense. Is this any good? Someone local wants to trade this for one of my fragrances. It's okay. It's not going to blow your pants off, but it's decent. Um, let's see. Najda Intense. There's one thing I want to see real quick. It's solid. You know, it's a little bit above average. It's a pretty solid rendition of Paradise Garden. I'd give it like an 8 at best. We've been working on switching over to TikTok. We're still gonna be um we're still gonna be on YouTube, but we're gonna be skewing down YouTube just a little bit because we've been going hard every single day. We're gonna skew back a little bit on YouTube to spend some time on TikTok. I'm building a big collaborator audience over there right now. But yeah, shooting a lot of content. I mean, as you guys can see, I've been dropping like 2 reviews a day now. Doing reviews, doing collabs, partnering with brands, doing a lot of stuff. Thoughts on Game of Spades Wild Card? I give Wild Card 7.5, 8 out of 10. Most young people under 25 really like it, wear it a lot. Um, it can get boring if you have a massive collection, but it is kind of a fun fragrance to rock 4 seasons, and it does get decent compliments. We'll see if the Knicks get it. I don't know. They got a tall order, but we'll see. They got a tall order. Of course, absolutely. It's a great fragrance. What up, Beard? What's popping, bro? Yeah. I mean, most of them are. I mean, that's why I'm going through all the Mind Games fragrances right now, going through their anthology discovery set because a lot of you guys trust my nose. So that's why we're going through all the mind games, like in all the stuff nobody talks about, to let you guys know what stuff I would even think about paying that much money for. Because a lot of people know of like maybe like 5 to 8 fragrances for Mind Games, but Mind Games has like over 30, 40 fragrances. So we're going to go through every single one of them. The Chanel Allure Edition Blanche grew on me now daily. Okay, which feels similar to, yeah. I mean, I love that DNA. I've never hated it. Is Pure Parfum the same as Extract de Parfum? Not always. If you want to be sure, you got to look on the bottle or the box to say the percentage. Because once you get in every, put it this way, every concentration is not a percentage. Every concentration is a percentage range: 10 to 15, 15 to 20, 20 to 30, 40 to 50. So even within eau de toilette or EDC or EDP, there's still a range where you can have two EDPs that have different concentrations than one another, but they're normally within a 5 to 10% range of each other on a spectrum. Once you get to extrait, these days, you could be dealing with anything from 25 to 50% oil concentration. And unfortunately, that used to all fall under the umbrella of Extrait, but now you have Extrait, Intenso, Extreme, all that stuff falls under that same family of 25 to 50% concentration. So the only way you'll know for sure, especially with Pure Parfum, because Pure Parfum falls into that higher concentration past EDP, is to look at the box and see the actual percentage that, and they all should legally give you the actual percentage. What Roja do you recommend for summer, excluding Elysium and Burlington 1819? Isola Blue, probably the most wearable Roja for spring summer. Do you have 10 out of 10 fragrances in your collection? Absolutely. Of course, I have 10 out of 10s, but my 10s are probably not your 10s. What up, Gems? Good to see you, brother. Mind Games is a PR stunt gimmick. Can't stand them. Everybody's a PR stunt gimmick. I even feel like the people who are coming out trying to be authentic about their company story and their authenticity and their attention to ethics and materials. I even think that sometimes is gimmicky because they start going into too deep of discussion about certain things that the general public doesn't care about to create the perception of prestige. And I think I was just listening to this the other night. I was listening to a brand owner talk about certain things about perfumery in depth. And part of me, to some of the conversation, was thinking, this is all good information to put out there, but a lot of it the general public doesn't even care about in terms of what would dictate their purchasing. So I think, you know, unfortunately, what determines the authenticity of a brand is not often how much they disclose, because every brand is gonna disclose a certain vein of truth. What it's almost like every brand is going to market the truth that best showcases them, but it's not always targeted towards buyer interests. And so we can use truth to be gimmicky as well by focusing on certain truth over others. So I typically find a lot of gimmicks on all sides of the fence, whether you're a niche brand charging 600 bucks for a bottle, or even if you're a entry level designer, independent designerish brand that's being super affordable, but you have a gimmicky way you market and try to appear as if you have quality and stuff like that. So I find a lot of people to be gimmicky. Even some of my favorite brands I find to be gimmicky, in a particular season with their marketing. Um, yeah, it's pretty big niche house, but they should for sure have more bangers for how much they charge. And I mean, here's the thing, dude. Um, if price wasn't an issue, more people would say Mind Games is absolutely fire. So you know, a big question you got to ask yourself is, simply because you can't afford something or don't want to spend money, is that worth saying something is not quality? Also, quality is subjective. Like for me, a quality fragrance might just be something that smells good, not necessarily the concentration or how much synthetics are in it or not. Like, Game of Spades Topaz for me, as generic of a smell as it is, it's a quality fragrance to me, but it's all in context, right? Like I'm saying it's good just in and of itself. If I put it next to Must Therapy, it's trash. So, you know, if Mind Games fragrances were $40 on the shelf, we would be saying they're the best up and coming brand out there. But somehow because of price, we're trashing them. Me, I don't see price too much in my journey now, but I decisively think that they're not that great. I think many of their fragrances overdo it and they blur the line between creative and practical. I really respect brands that in an attempts to be creative always think about the wearability of the consumer and taking a fragrance less out of circumstance and more into season. And I just, as I've gone through the Mind Games collection so far, and now we're about 17-ish fragrances deep. We'll be in 30 after the full reviews are done. I've noticed a big attention to creativity and detail, and not a lot of attention to versatile wearability. So, um, for me, that's fine because everybody has their niche. But even within their niche of kind of circumstantial special occasion wear, I find their fragrances to be overworked and too many notes and not a lot of glue. Um, that's my personal opinion. But that opinion doesn't come from their price point. It comes from just analyzing their juice. Chanel Superlegra smells okay at best, kind of synthetic and weak longevity. Um, Superlegra, I think, is a good fragrance. I wouldn't buy it, but I think it's popular for a reason. I haven't heard of Banadir. No. What up, Harvey? What's poppin', brother? Good to see you, man. Yo, son, caught you live for once. Always missing you on the East Coast. Just went Pizzaglia Evil Angel for today. Beautiful. Great scent. Very great scent. Two spray killer on that fragrance. Jeremy Fragrance stopped his new fragrance that had blood in it. It was supposed to be a subliminal for a blessing from Christ. Now he's just promoting other houses. Thoughts? I could care less. Truthfully, it's that's a I don't care much about what Jeremy Fragrance is doing, I'll be honest with you. Um, much of what he does is very sporadic, not thoughtful and gimmicky, and he takes meaningful concepts and tries to inject it into his content, and so it seems inauthentic to me. So I'm waiting on when Jeremy sobers up and comes back with some authenticity because one thing about Jeremy is the public now is well aware of when he's not sober and when he's sober. So when he's sober, goes back to good old Jeremy, um, which you see glimpses of it. Like whenever you see Jeremy on camera and he's got bags under his eyes and his hair's in a ponytail, he's sober. But generally, we're not seeing creativity. We're seeing somebody who just got up out of bed, and is just trying to shoot content for the day. But I'm just waiting on him to wake up. All his content and kind of updates on his life, it's beside me. I feel the same way about Argos too. They just flood creators with bottles in exchange for mostly positive feedback. Argos has some great fragrances, and those are running the show. In the same way that Creed Aventus single-handedly allowed Creed to soar through the skies and weather the storm of a lot of rainy seasons of no sales. Aventus always kept the lights on, especially in its prime. And so, in the same way, Argos has a couple of flagships. The Triumph of Bacchus, Danae, the something Trident, and then there's one other one that are kind of running the show. I'm not a fan of any of them so far.
and I've tried most of the line, but they are high quality, great craftsmanship, and I respect them enough to not downplay anybody who's found ones that they love because they are quality juices. They're creative, they're artistic, their craftsmanship is high caliber. They're worthy comparatively to other niche brands of respect. And sometimes you just have to give a brand space to grow. You know, I think sometimes we assume a brand's intentions based off of their fragrances, and we don't know these people. We don't know how new they are. We don't know what they're doing with the feedback, and we just got to give them time to cook. It's the same way with the community. There's people in the community who I feel like are not that thoughtful and lazy and not creative and leeching off the community members and things like that. But I'm not ever going to down talk them publicly because they need to have room to grow. Everybody has a life, season of life, time to grow. And if we just go around pissing on everybody's tree because they don't think like us or they're not where we're at, or even if we notice the sins of another person, um, and just, use that moment to plot on their downfall, that's not loving. It's not helpful. And you should always see the glass half full in another human being. So you should facilitate grace to allow them to have a space to grow up. Um, have you, and that's one of the biggest reasons why I don't often participate in the toxicity fragrance community discussion stuff because my agreements or disagreements with those individuals that want to conduct those conversations, even though I feel much of them are like super irrelevant and um, mainly the result of laziness and not really trying to be creative in their own space. I don't know that first and foremost. And number two, I want people to have the freedom to cook and pursue the topics that they're passionate about and give them time and grace to figure that out. And who the heck am I at the end of the day? Have you tried Kamrakawa or Kamra Waha? I have seen many mixed reviews about it. It's a very solid fragrance, but if you collect fragrances at all, it's not that special at all. I think people are just happy that they got a fresh fragrance that doesn't smell like, holiday Thanksgiving potpourri, which is much of what the Comra line was. And so they're excited that they did something else with that line. Very solid fragrance, probably like a 7 or 8 in terms of, quality, projection, longevity, creativity, quality of ingredients, and things like that. But as a DNA, it won't impress you much. It's very practical wear. You can wear it with anything. You can layer it with just about anything, but it's a very mid fragrance creatively. We'll go ahead and put people in timeout a little bit. Thank you for giving me your true energy, guys. You make my life real easy. Mind Games does nothing different from every other house. Wait, Mind Games does nothing different from every other house. Does nothing new under the sun. A banger to me may not be to you. True. Next purchase? I don't know. I have a little grocery list of some stuff I've really had my eye on. Um, I would love to get 100 ml of Xerjoff Apollonia, but apparently that's discontinued. I can only get a 50 of it. So I pumped the brakes on that. Um, I do have another hit list of things I want, but um, I'm not in a rush. I probably haven't purchased a fragrance in like a month, which for most people is like, wow, that's not even a break. But to me, that is a break. I went from having fragrances show up on my doorstep every several days a week to now I haven't seen a package hit my front door in 30 days. So I have a lot of fragrances. I have a lot of people that send me fragrances. I have family members that send me fragrances. PR is starting to turn up. Um, so I'm good right now, man. I'm really trying to enjoy what I have. And the less Stuff that I buy, the more focus I'm put into getting a lot of these reviews and quality content out. So when I'm not buying fragrances, the quality goes up a notch on my channel. So y'all don't want me buying fragrances, trust me. Do you own a Tesla or an EV? No, I own a hybrid vehicle. This is the 4K camera, right? Because it looks crispy. No, this isn't a 4K camera. The 4K camera is over there. If I ran 4K, my background would be blurred out. But I am mic'd up, so that might be playing with your mind a little bit. You know, this is a high-end wireless mic setup, so the audio quality might be leading you to believe that the camera quality is good as well. Um, it is downscaled 4K from the cell phone, but it's not my actual professional camera. You can tell the difference between this camera and when you guys see me do a review, much different. With a higher price comes higher expectations naturally. I went over this. One of my video that's going viral right now, it's like 800, it's almost at 1,000 views or whatever. Well, that's viral to me. But that video talks exactly about that point, Beard. Which is why clones are such a big thing because a lot of people don't care about that 20-30% quality increase for a 10x price increase. 100%. Every side of the fence comes with pluses and minuses. You know, so one of the biggest minuses about being a clone collector is that clone collectors can't chill. They don't know when to turn the switch off. So my biggest question to a clone collector is like, okay, you've established that you can find great fragrances for the price. Why do you have 100? You know, if you're really buying juices that you say are one to one and incredibly close to another fragrance and all that, why are you still adding 10 fragrances to the cart? Where is the itch being satisfied? You know, and because you're in the clone category, a lot of stuff smells of the same season, same essence. So you've got 40 blue fragrances, 20 woody fragrances, you know, tons of freaking aquatics, tons of citrus, tons of vanilla. And it's like, what's the point? So the biggest temptation with being a clone collector is over consuming redundant DNAs because you're being force fed it every day. Any opinions on the Guerlain extraits? Phenomenal. 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 To be honest though, the biggest risk you run with Guerlain is that the more you move towards an extrait, the less you're getting the scent from the past. So for instance, if we're talking about Habit Rouge, if you go EDP or a Parfum, it's not what Habit Rouge used to smell like. The Eau de Toilette is going to be the closest thing to original Habit Rouge you're going to find. So if you want authenticity, you go Eau de Toilette. If you want projection and longevity, you move closer toward the Parfum or the Extrait. I prefer the smelling the as close to the original DNA as possible, so I'm getting Eau de Toilettes and everything with the exception of Guerlain Homme, which I got in an EDP. Wish I would have got it in an EDT, but part of me is glad I got the EDP for project or for the longevity. What is that fragrance you say is super? What is a fragrance you say is super overhyped? Oh, tons of them, dude. Tons of them. Game of Spades Black Sapphire, super overhyped right now. Um, there's people even saying it's better than Blue Talisman and Blue Talisman Extrait. Um, my brain is real tomatoes right now, so it's hard for me to think. But man, you know, there's so many overhyped fragrances right now. It's not even funny. But that one stuck out to me like a sore thumb. Black Sapphire is a solid fragrance, but it's not better than the Talismans at all. In fact, if you went back and went to like Taj 2 from French Avenue, or even Art of Universe and stuff like that, like those are just as good as that. They're all like well above average, solid, versatile wares, but I think people are just on a pear kick right now. Clone of Electimus Imperium. Imperium is a clone. Um, here, hold on. It was so funny. I went live on TikTok but because I'm so new on it, there was like nobody in there. So like 15 minutes in, I was like, all right, guys, I'm going over to YT. So you guys got to come with me on TikTok so we can grow that too. Um, Clone for Imperium, Ani, Ani or Spectre Wraith from French Avenue. So you got a $20 price point. You got about $150 price point. There you go. What are y'all's thoughts on the House of Mebisu? They're very high quality, but also very high price. The most popular one is going to be a Wondrous Night, a Wondrous Flight, a Wondrous Night, which is basically just Tigar twist. But they're very high quality, very artsy. You know, you need to find good prices for them. So I've seen those fragrances go for around 150 to 200. They are worthy of that price point, but for the $300-400 price point retail that they're asking for, they're absolutely out of their mind. Is Guerlain Vetiver EDT good or the Parfum? Again, the Vetiver EDT is the closest to the original Guerlain Vetiver. It's softer, but it's more detailed. The Parfum is kind of the most publicly popular for the richness and the performance. So if you don't mind reapplying, I would go with the EDT because you're going to get something much closer and more Four Seasons, in my opinion. If you just care about projection and longevity and richness, go with the Parfum. Most people will tell you to buy the Parfum. I personally would get the EDT because I don't mind reapplying, and I do think it's got a more detailed scent profile. It loses much of its multifacetedness when you get to the Parfum because the Parfum just amps up one or two notes. Yeah, no, no, Beard, you had a great point. I was just adding to it. It's just about getting, well-rounded information out there. Because I think sometimes we make a great point, but shut down other people's interest in a brand. And we got to be careful about that because it's like if Argos gets their head out of their butt and really is focusing on community feedback and growth, they would be like stunning as a brand. I mean, just off of their bottles alone, they're so much more worthy than a lot of brands to be in the conversation for best niche brands, in that MBA talk category. But if we downplay them this early in the game when we don't even really know their intent. Like just because they made a bad juice, like we think they're being less intentional or just trying to make a quick buck. We don't know. We don't know. That could have been their best effort. So I'm just saying, like, we gotta watch how hard we go against certain brands and their intent. Because even with mind games, like mind games does clone, but we don't know the intention of them. Like maybe there's a legitimate perfumer sitting there going, you know what? I want to make my version of Aventus. And I love that DNA, but I want to do it mind game style. That's an authentic desire that maybe we might see as they're just trying to do a cash grab to get their version of Aventus. But like we don't really know some of these things that we claim about brands. So I try to just be careful of how I word things. But you didn't say anything wrong. Like your points are extremely valid. What's up, Cara? Good to see you. Valentino Purple Melancholia. That fragrance is so popular right now. I've seen so much of it selling. Wait, also I just noticed the watch. What's on your wrist? I'm a watch guy. Feels like it's more than 20 or 30%. Feels like it's more than a 20 or 30% quality increase. Yeah, go look into that. That's why I had to stop the clone flip phase. I only wear 3 to 5 clones I bought. The rest were a waste of money and given away. Yeah, I always tell people the natural progression of a fragrance journey is with every fragrance purchase you buy, you move from not that you move away from, but that you also move towards. There's kind of two muscles. There's practical muscle and there's artistic muscle. And naturally with every fragrance you buy, you begin to grow that artistic muscle, meaning a fragrance doesn't just have to be, oh, that's perfect for gym. Oh, that's perfect for this and that. It has to do something that the other fragrances didn't do. And to do that, it has to get artistic. So, it's natural that after 50 clones, you'll look back and realize a lot of them did the same thing because you weren't going slowly enough and really enjoying a fragrance long enough to detect in the latest purchase that you bought that it basically did the same thing. So, everybody naturally, I think, progresses to needing fragrances that are more artistic or more of a sensory experience and not just super practical. Because if we were only judging from practical, like 80% of the fragrance game would be super valid. And again, with this is all preference. What do you think about what do you think about Givenchy Sport and JPG Narcisse? Not the biggest fan of them, but I think they're valid. They just don't excite me a lot. I love coconut, so this purple melancholia is fire to me. You got to enjoy coconut though. True. I think there's a time and a place for clones like today. I just put my nose on Naxos and I wouldn't spend Naxos money on it because it's just okay. I'd rather buy a clone because it's not doing too much. Well, there's 2 points to that. Number one, it doesn't matter what you think about Naxos. I've never seen a woman who hates Naxos. They exist, but where I live, I've never seen a woman complain about somebody wearing Naxos. So that tells me that for you, you really care that you're the only person that you're trying to impress when you're wearing a fragrance. So you have a very personal attachment to fragrances. But Naxos is totally worth the money. I mean, the fact that you could pay 130, 150, which is basically a designer price for one of the best date night fragrances of all time, it's kind of like, who cares what you think? If you want women, you need to have that fragrance. Now, with that being said, on the other side of that coin, there's tons of Naxoses out there. Latafa Kingdom. You know, yes, it's Lamal Elixir, but Lamal Elixir to me, in my eyes, is Naxos. It's just a cousin to. So you've got plenty of, you've got Kingdom, you got Lionheart, you've got Lamal Elixir, you got 1 million, you got Azaro. All those are the same to me. Vanilla and spice and aromatics. So you definitely don't need Naxos, but Naxos, if you have it, you really don't need another date night fragrance because you're never going to not get her number because of Naxos. You're never gonna not have a good night because of Naxos. Women absolutely love Naxos. Um, I'm more so moved away from clones because you don't really get a journey or experience them because most of them are linear. I enjoy a fragrance that transitions. Well, I'll be excited to show you the clones I think that do put you on a nose journey. Um, it's not a lot, but it's enough to talk about. But Kara, it's interesting. As much as I agree with that, it's amazing how many fragrances I feel that same way about in the niche category. Um, I've been experiencing, like with mind games, they have crazy quality top notes, and some of their fragrances fall into like the most mono note stuff you ever had. And it's a quality mono note, but it loses the the fragrance you start out with in the first 10 minutes, you get a third of it in the dry down. So it it's something that money itself has not solved in my personal journey. Like I'm realizing, it's easy to say something like, man, if the clone companies just put a little bit more money into their juice, they could have better transition and a better dry down. There's brands like Mind Games where a lot of their fragrances, there's a lot of money going into them, seemingly, but really they're just putting a lot of money either into the top notes or the dry down, but they're not putting money around the entire ingredient lineup. And so you get like the perception of quality and then a dry down of utter trash or just confusion. And at the end of the day, what I'm learning is regardless the quality of the ingredients, the chef has to whip that perfume together amazingly. So sometimes you have high quality ingredients that feel like they were wielded by a 13-year-old kid in the science beaker. So you know, the I think the biggest issue to why the clone game is perceived so badly is because if I'm buying a niche fragrance, I'm always decanting. You will never blind buy a niche fragrance because of the cost. So because of that, you run into bangers more often. And that's because you're being intentional. Most people that attempt to navigate the clone field are not buying discovery sets and they're just buying the bottles. So it's easier to be disappointed because there's a higher percentage of blind buy. If you were using that same principle with the niche category, you'd find a lot of duds as well from a quality standpoint or just bad juice or not something you prefer. So I've seen it on both sides. It's just the clone culture buys full bottles, so you're gonna run into more letdowns, and once that money stacks up and you're pissed off enough, now you just have a completely sour taste in your mouth. But I've seen the linear thing, really transpire on the niche side quite often, which is why I'm going through the discovery sets, because I'm trying to really clear the air on the conversation between uh niche and clone. And the only way we're going to find out is by literally taking it one fragrance at a time and evaluating everything. When it's all said and done and I look back, then I'll assess for you guys, okay, in the several thousand fragrances I've tried, niche fragrances 50% of the time are better or whatever. But I just feel like we have such a skewed data sheet to really be making that claim yet. And I say that as somebody who's probably smelled well over about 4,000 fragrances in a very concentrated period of time. So we'll see. But I mean, generally, I do, again, it's like what Beard said. Like, I agree with what you're saying in theory. But again, we got to be careful about it a little bit because um, I don't want you guys to lose the fact that you have access to everything. And I've had a really good time in Clone World. I've had a really good time in designer world. I've had a really good time in vintage. I've had a really good time in niche, and I've had a really good time in artisanal. I've had a really good time in lotion. I've had a really good time in oil. SB has. So my job is to show you all the good times I've had from each category, and hopefully, when I show you guys that, it might change how you think about some of these things. Um, what is a Naxos? Look it up. Um, Yeah, that's another big issue is like if I have a sample, right? I'm learning this, guys. This is where I'm at in my journey, and I hope that you find this to be very helpful. I'm finding that there are a lot of fragrances that cannot be smelled through these. I don't know if you guys have noticed that. Like there if this fragrance, Platinum Egoist, was inside of this tester, I would think that fragrance is trash because it's so soft and aromatic that the amount of surface area that this would cover is so small, the aromatic side of it goes completely nose blind immediately. But if you spray it look at this. This is if I really hope you guys like don't look over this point. This is one of the most fascinating things I ever found, and I found it messing with Edge of Eden from day 3. Look how small the surface area is with this. Can I flip the screen? Okay. So I'm going to try to aim this in a way where you can see the surface area. Okay? So it covered this way, about that much surface area, right? Which, if I'm holding it here, I might cover this much space. If I hold it back, it'll cover all of this. But most of us don't really hold it back like that with these. With these, we get pretty close. So the surface area is very small. As opposed to, let's say that this smells so good in the air, by the way. Let's say that fragrance was Platinum Egoist, and this is how they really meant for that fragrance to spray. You guys can't see, but the entire surface area of this screen was covered, right? So the difference in surface area is like 250% increase. And when I spray this out of this atomizer, so much detail comes out. And so my point is like, if we're only judging fragrances out of this, unfortunately, there's certain fragrances out of there. The louder fragrances get the most good feedback out of the small Addy because it doesn't really matter the distribution. But the more you move towards medium projection or low skin scenty fragrance projections, a sample is terrible for those because you're only going to smell like a third of the fragrance detail. And you're going to think it's bad most of the time. Even if you take this and try to maximize surface area by getting it all, because it's such a micro spray, it doesn't diffuse properly. And so as we're testing fragrances, if we only test it this way, it's all we got. But we have to be mindful of that fact, because I know some people when they spray a sample, they might only spray it 2 or 3 times on a test strip or like once or twice on their fist and then try to get that experience. But the best thing you can do with an eau de toilette or just a lighter fragrance in general is to actually empty this on your actual skin and not your shirt or your neckline, like literally cover the skin to try and maximize that coverage to get that full detail experience. Because if you don't, what you're actually going to smell is like 1/3 of what the composition is meant to smell and feel like. So that's another thing that's been blowing my mind because, like, Edge of Eden, out of this, I have to cover all of my skin and not my clothes to really feel this. And even so, when I move to the bottle of Edge of Eden out of this, I get a way bigger scent profile. Like I start to see notes that I never even smelled in this. And so I was like, man, I can see why a lot of people downplayed Edge of Eden because coming out of a small resource for it, it's not even a tenth of what it is. I don't know where I was going with that other than just like, when we're commenting on Naxos and like certain fragrances, we just gotta be careful because like if all you did was sprayed it out of a test onto a test strip or like a couple sprays on your arm kind of thing, and you didn't actually load your whole body in it and go outside and do battle with it, it's really hard to criticize what that fragrance is because you haven't even met it yet. Yeah. Love seeing those oil rollers back there and need to hit up Mystic. Yeah, I'll give you another connect as well, Shan. I'm a big oil advocate. Big oil advocate. Specifically for pulse points, and you'll see when my layering book comes out. Best date night fragrance to me is Dolce and Gabbana, the one EDP. That's another fragrance that it doesn't matter what you think about with it. Women love the EDT, the EDP, the by night, the women's one. Like it's just very popular. Naxos is goaded. Oh, for sure. I agree. There are niche that are linear too. I try to stay away from all linear Yeah, but like what I'm saying in contralto is very nice. What I'm saying though, Kara, is I know you understand that logic on that it's both sides of the fence, but what I'm saying is the difference that like makes it easier to crap on clones is most people that try clones acquire the bottle. So you'll have a different perception in your mind like most of this is garbage. But if you blind bought bottles of niche at the same frequency you bought clones, you would say a lot of the niche is trash too because if most people that buy clones or try clones don't buy discovery sets or samples of those. They just pay the low ticket for the bottle, and that's much more of a blind buy than our niche situation. With niche, we're buying the discovery set, we're buying the sample, or we're going in the store. So we already know we're buying some heat. But with clones, a lot of us just straight blind buy the clones. So it's an unfair comparison if you're doing it that way. That was my main point. I've been having a way better time buying a truckload of niche samples than buying full. But I'm so happy for you, Mike. That's so good. Would love to see and try hear your thoughts on Velixer fragrances. Send me some, Beard. Let's trade. Let's trade. I still enjoy some clones, but I prefer quality over quantity. Yeah, I think we've always preferred quality over quantity. The reason we get to quantity, I think, speaks to problems much deeper than fragrance. Like if we get into a place where we're just getting quantity, it's because we're adults with adult money buying stuff at kid prices, and we're not content in anything. So if you buy tons of fragrances for no reason, you probably have other stuff in your life that you bounce to that you probably just buy to have anyway. The Amazon and Mercari and whatnot culture is a problem. Oud lemon mint is very nice. I'm at the point where I know I can't wear through my collection anytime soon, but I still want to explore. So again, buying a bunch of clones just doesn't make sense. Yeah, I wish more people would get discovery sets. We're almost at 5K, by the way, guys. So starting next weekend, we'll make the announcement for the giveaway. What up, Gems? The almond and oud dry down is so satisfying. Facts. Oud lemon mint is definitely the best Mancera alongside Vetiver Sensuel. You already know how I feel about Vetiver Sensuel. It's like in the air. It smells differently than what I get on my skin for sure. Um, what you mean? Where's Jim's been? He's been around. Um, yeah. Hope you get better, bro. SB, if you haven't put your nose on Bahara chocolate, you absolutely need to because it's heavenly. You guys know I have trauma with Bahara because the first five Baharas that I went through. Go look at the default pictures of my Bahara reviews. It'll be a minute before I go back to Bahara. Um, appreciate you, Sean. Um, I appreciate that, Gems. Yeah, I mean, bro, honestly, my biggest problem is that I'm long-winded, but I have to be because you guys know me at this point, and I don't mean to say it this way, but I just don't know how. I don't know how to say it any other way. It's easier to say a one-liner than to explain something, especially in American culture. And this thing is so deep. Oftentimes, it again the one-liner the one-liners that we say, they're easy to say because they sound so right, but when you really break it down, it's deeper than that. And so, just who I am, I think about people unaccounted for. That's my MO as a content creator in this space. And I think you got to find what you're called to. I'm called to, in this particular space, walk everything down. If people are saying a one liner about a brand or a company or a fragrance or a concept, my calling is to evaluate that and say, is there more to it than that? So that's why this has slowly become education and edutainment, because who I am as a person, if I think that there's validity on the other side of the fence at all, I'm going to investigate it because I know that there's a group of people being flushed out of the community for no reason other than our convenience to say the one liner. And so that's why I'm long winded, because to convince you guys that there's more to it, I got to break down your point of view and sort through my point of view and somehow get it all to something concise that's not lofty. Because that's another thing is I don't like thinking deeply just to say I did. There's a lot of people on social media that have really in-depth discussions that literally go nowhere. I call it barbershop talk. If SB's ever talking in a way that is directionless, unsubscribe from me because I don't want to waste your time. So even when I choose to be long-winded, I'm going somewhere that I think is really valuable to you. And I think people are starting to see that. I'm not going into all these nooks and crannies for clout, for content. I'm literally doing it for your value. So when I do a review, yeah, the average review might be 5, 10 minutes, and my average review might be 20 or 30. But by the end of the video, I'm not trying to make a 30-minute video. It's just if something's relevant to your purchase, I'm gonna tell you. That's what I think people appreciate about me is I'm not everybody's cup of tea, but they know there's a level of authenticity in what I bring to the game. You don't have to prefer me, but when you deal with me, it's mutual respect because there's zero cap in what I do. Zero. Not in how I collect, how I buy, how I talk, how I treat people. It's just 100. And I reveal all that on my channel. And anybody who's dealt with me behind the camera will testify, including the subscribers. I take care of a lot of my subscribers very well. Um, and you guys know that. So a lot of times I don't have to speak on it because my followers and my family and my supporters go so hard for me vocally. I don't even have to speak on it. But I appreciate you guys for your kind words all the time. Okay, let me catch up here. Yeah, you guys are spending money. I gotta look out for you. Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Kara. That's so funny. I'm gonna do this just because it's Saturday and I feel good doing it. Um, Cause they'll be like, well, what's the best niche or it's like you spend 30 minutes trying to bring someone value and they're like, "Oh, look, there's a bird." It's like they didn't hear anything you just said. It's like, bro, if that's what you got out of that whole thing I just said, go sit in timeout because you're not in the right headspace to be here. It's like the dog, chasing around, jumping at the fly, wrong target, dude. Yeah, and I mean, thankfully, I don't have to make it in Fragcom. That's like I think I'm at the perfect age for YouTube because I don't need YouTube to be successful. So I can have fun. I'm not restricted by brands. I'm not owned by anybody, and I'm old enough to not care about looking cool. Bro, if there's one testimony you guys can know that I'm genuine with what I do, while everybody was dropping top tens and panty dropper videos and seasons and being the first person to have a new release and all this stuff, I spent almost 2 years every single day uploading a review of a brand new fragrance for 700 days. If that's not a testimony to you that this is a no gimmick for the people space, I don't know what is. Think about that. I could have went viral or zoomed in and zoomed out and did all this stuff that everybody else is doing and followed people to get into the algorithm, But instead, I dropped dry, just informative reviews that nobody needed. Like, you guys aren't going to need any of the reviews I've done until you do. So I'm loading the vault for anybody that's looking up any fragrance that needs a current review and is not going to see some 70-year-old dude with the video that says 9 years ago on a fragrance you've been curious about. You're going to see something that is at least from 2025 to now, relevant, thoughtful review on most fragrances you've seen in your life. And it's just straight to the point, no gimmick, not trying to get views out of it, just make it so that you only have to watch that video and none of that. um and that's it. And I intentionally made the opposite of viral content for 700 days straight, and I didn't take a single day off for you guys. When you guys fell asleep and you went on vacation, or you followed another creator for a season and then came back, I was still there for everybody every single day, just putting in that work. So hopefully that, above anything else, lets you guys know that uh, I'm I'm the real deal, for lack of better words. And the real deal just meaning somebody who only tries to bring value to the people and doesn't care about any hype or money or whatever. Literally, think about that. I'm amazed at that myself. Like, bro, you freaking did content for almost 800 days straight and are still going every single day. We're at like 800 days straight of a new fragrance every single day. A thoughtful review, 1 to 4, every single day. Collaborations, entertainment, innovation, every single day for almost 800 days straight. That's crazy, guys. That's genuinely nuts when you think about it. I did not think. And really, the person who gets credit for all of it is my second son, Caden, because Caden Caden took me out of my office, and what started off as just a 5-minute break talking about fragrances turned into this when I had my second son. Literally, that's crazy. Best rose fragrance out right now. Um, to me, Baranda Nasamato. Thank you, Dane. Thank you. Nasamato Baranda, whiskey, rose, woods, and florals. That's the best rose to me right now. There's other amazing roses, Taifa Oud, Atomic Rose, some of the Chanel Privé line. There's a lot. There's a lot. Whiskey Rose, Oud Satin Mood, Oud Silk Mood. There's some rosy fragrances like Vetiveria. Creed's Wild Vetiver essentially has a lot of rose in it as well. I mean, there's a lot of good rose fragrances, but the best to me is Baranda. Which is more suitable for daily um, use, Lalique White or Equus? Both. Both. They're both made for exactly that. If you want more of a tart, citrus, sharp, aromatic, you go Lalique White. If you want more of a warm, savory grapefruit, amber vetiver, I would liken it like this. In the designer world, maybe Lalique White would function exactly like Mont Blanc Legend Spirit, and in the and Equus would function more like, what would Equus would function more like an Invictus, like a Coach Platinum or an Invictus Aqua in terms of the feel. Like Equus is slightly warmer and more savory citric, and White feels very dry and crisp and sharp citric tart. So it's almost like hot and cold. Like if you want that more sharp, cold air aromatic thing, White. If you want more of a warm, savory, kind of Invictus-y, metallic almost feeling style, then you go Equus. Equus is warm, grapefruit sophistication. White is, a bergamot, peppery, slight peppery, tart citric, clean linen vetiver. So hopefully that's helpful for you. But both, it's like, would you wear Invictus every day? Yes. Would you wear Mont Blanc Legend Spirit every day? Yes. So they're both will do the job. They're just different personalities. Shout outs to India. Just tried Zaharoff Black Rose. Do you like it? Did you like it? That's a very niche level rose to me. And by niche, I don't just mean like artisanal. I mean, that's a very complicated rose. You have to love art in perfumery to appreciate the Halfeti Black Rose. But I really enjoyed it, but I wouldn't recommend that to a lot of people. It's um, a very unique smell that right away you're not going to know where you're going to wear it. It's going to take you some time to find out where you like wearing it. Um, you know, I'll leave it at that. We're probably going to sign off soon because I've been live for a minute and change. Is there any last minute questions that you guys have for me? Again, I appreciate you guys. If you're new here, I drop like 1 to 4 videos every single day on this channel, and I've been doing it for 800 days plus, which is crazy. I think that's the first time I've said that online. We've been dropping videos every single day for 800 days. That's crazy. We're approaching 2 million views online. We're doing a lot of collabs this year, a lot of events. I'm very proud of what we've done. I'm mostly proud of the community that stepped up, that has discovered the channel, because they really are the lifeblood behind keeping me waking up every day caring about this. And so, if you're into anything on all sides, all budgets, I'm starting to do more women's fragrances this year as well to look out for my ladies. Just give them a male's perspective on some of the most talked about female fragrances out there. We do clones, dupes, inspirations, cheapies, designers, artisanal, niche, all kinds of independent stuff. We talk about, the entertainment and wearability side of fragrance and things like compliments, and we just break everything down. We was like, I'm on a journey, just documenting everything I'm finding about fragrance and trying to make it work for your journey too. Any close dupe or clone of MFK Baccarat Rouge 540, Club de Nuit Untold from, did I just say Latafa? Armaf Club de Nuit Untold. You can get it for about 40 on Amazon, and it's better than Baccarat Rouge in my opinion. Do you prefer Guerlain's Vetiver Parfum or Tom Ford Grey Vetiver? Both. Both. For most people, it'd be redundant to have both, but I just love both. Vetiver is my favorite note, so I carry them all. It's hard for me to tell you what's better, but the only difference that you should consider between Guerlain's Vetiver Parfum or Grey Vetiver is that you're going to get significantly more performance from Guerlain. Tom Ford is going to be very short-lived, but it's still going to be a very high-quality experience. You're going to have to reapply more with the Tom Ford, but I absolutely love Tom Ford. I would never write off Tom Ford. It just has always worked for me. I just think it's the most wearable fragrance in the office, or any level of work. Um, just getting a luxury elevation in fresh fragrances. It's just king. So I carry both, but if you care about performance, you won't go wrong with Guerlain's Vetiver Parfum. But I recommend you try them before you buy them, but I would buy both. I mean, you can get Grey Vetiver today for $100 on Amazon all day long for 100 ml. You can get Guerlain's Vetiver for probably the same price. I mean, I've seen it go everywhere between 80 to 100 for the 100 ml Parfum. So yeah, I don't have a preference. I prefer both. What up, Wayne? Scent of the day, Oud Mineral layered with Issey Miyake Super Majeur. I don't know that second fragrance, but Oud Mineral is nice. My scent of the day was Chanel Coral Mandel. Oh, Okay, guys, I'm getting tired. I've been standing up for almost an hour and a half. I really appreciate you guys. If you're new here, please subscribe. I always tell people hang out for a week, see if this is your cup of tea. There's always something new for you every day here. Um, And if I didn't answer your question today, paste it into the comment section of this video on the watch back, and I will personally reach out and reply back to you. I'll answer this last question and then I'm going to head out. Have you tried Al Haramain Amber Oud Rouge? Yes, it is solid, but Club de Nuit Untold is significantly better. Anyways, love you guys. Thank you so much for your support, hanging out, rocking with me. The giveaway's coming up soon. My giveaway will be bigger and better than every single creator you know on YouTube and on TikTok combined. You have my absolute word with that. This giveaway will top all my previous giveaways. It is very special. It will be a little bit of a struggle to enter into the giveaway just because it is so big, but I'm doing that to filter out all the newbies who think they can just get onto the channel fresh and win a giveaway. So the people who follow the announcements and follow the instructions will have an increased chance of winning, and the people who participate in the chat during the giveaway will continually get an increased luck factor attached to their account to increase your odds to be one of the 3 winners for this next giveaway as well. So with that being said, love you guys. Like, comment, subscribe. Please follow if you're new here, and I'll see you guys soon. Love you guys.